I am reading this log in an admittedly confused state. Our human crew member, Stephen, has recently disappeared. He was always a quite laid-back fellow. He would laugh and joke with the rest of the crew and smile wider than anybody. At times he was a bit quiet or reserved, but his calm head always saved our asses when it counted. When shit hit the fan, as he would say, he never panicked like the rest of us. He always got really, really calm and found a path out for anyone involved. Recently, though, one of our crew seems to have angered him, though I don't think anger is the right word. Rather, Stephen seemed calm like he always was in those panic-inducing incidents. A crew member jeered at Stephen about his inability to grow facial hair. Something previously joked about, and Stephen would always just laugh it off or say it was a bad joke, and that he'd heard it enough times. This time, when it was said, he reacted very differently. He was working on a plasma pump for the engine when the remark was made, and he put down the pump part and rag he was cleaning it off with. He silently, without a word, placed down his gloves, took a deep breath, and went to leave the room. Before he left the room, all he said was, "That's it. I'm done." He did not yell, nor did he show any normal human indicators of anger. His eyes did not narrow, his veins did not bulge, and his skin tone remained constant. But the crew member who made the remark, Keith, a fellow mantid, gave his statement earlier. He told me that after he made the joke, Stephen went from jovial and laughing to deathly silent and calm, like an ocean that was full of waves one moment, and then just like a glass mirror the next. I was told that when this shift happened, the air itself seemed to stop circulating, and that the room temperature seemed to have dropped by several degrees. Keith said that every alarm instinct that our species has developed over millions of years went off all at the same time, screaming at him to run, to hide, to cower, to freeze, to camouflage, to do something just to get away. He said it was as though Stephen had suddenly turned into a ruthless, emotionless predator in an instant, like some switch had been flipped. After that, Stephen just vanished. Nobody saw where he went, and nobody has any clue where he may have gone. I have looked this up on the Galactinet, and there are other reports of similar behaviour from other humans. The end results are never good in these reports, however, so I hope that this is simply Stephen having gone someplace to relax. End log. 2 weeks later, Galactic News. Breaking news. A galactic humanitarian crisis has been called for the mantid species. A new odd disease has occurred on their planet, making it so that the males of the species are no longer capable of growing out the horns on their heads. While these horns serve very little purpose in modern society, they are a symbol of pride and style for most males of the species. This disease is only affecting this part of the mantid biology for some reason, and the males that have already grown horns are having them fall off. The disease has only just appeared, but has affected an estimated 13% of the mantid species as a whole already. We will continue covering information about this odd disease as more information comes up. Please consider donating on our official galactic website for research into this odd illness. 2 hours later. Well, Stephen came back today with a much more level head, and apologised for abruptly leaving us weeks ago without a word. Given his work ethic before, and the fact that getting a human engineer is harder than finding a needle in a damn gas giant these days, I forgave everything. He is now happily back as part of our crew as if nothing ever happened, with the exception of the fact that Keith caught that odd sickness, making males hornless and unable to grow new ones. Though on a personal note, he seems far more interesting without them. At the same time, in the engineering quarters. "Oh no, Keith, what happened? Can't you grow some facial horns? Your face just looks so bland without them. Such a damn shame," Stephen said, in a sing-song mocking voice that seemed to spit venom. Upon hearing this, Keith looked at Stephen in absolute terror, as it suddenly clicked in his mind where his human compatriot had gone for 2 weeks. Keith stammered, You did this? Was it you who made this abominable disease? Just because I made some jokes about your facial hair? Do you have any idea how many lives you've harmed for this petty revenge? Stephen shook his head and said, What's the matter? Are my jokes not funny? Do they hurt your pride, Does it sting knowing you can't be a normal male and grow your horns? See, Keith, this is what we humans call a silent rage. I told you to stop with the jokes directly, indirectly, and every way I could fucking fathom. But you just wouldn't stop. And I know the captain wouldn't take my little complaint as anything seriously. Just some jokes amongst the crew. So I took some time off to visit the Mantid homeworld. Lovely this time of year, might I add. While I was there, I might have decided to practice a different field of engineering, specifically bioengineering. Now maybe one or two samples of my work got out, but who's to say? I was in such a fit of rage, I simply forgot where I might have placed them. Saying all of this, a smile crept up on Stephen's face that would make the devil's own blood run cold, and his eyes reflected an evil light as he continued. Now, Keith, how about you don't mock my facial hair and I don't mock your horn problem, okay? Let's start over and get along in the future, shall we?